Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Dusty trails, masked bandits, gunfire echoing through canyons, and a train vanishing into the sunset following a bold heist are all familiar scenes from classic Western films. In addition to cattle drives and saloon brawls, the Wild West was a time when robbing banks and railroads was the ultimate tactic used by criminals. In those days, one successful heist could instantly make you famous or notorious. For their cunning, cruelty, or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, some robbers became legendary. The 8 most well-known robberies from the Wild West are the subject of our discussion today. They are tales of peril, greed, and bravery that helped to create the myths we will discuss today. 8 most famous train robberies from the Wild West. The Adair, Iowa train robbery, 1873. Let's begin with the 1873 Adair, Iowa train robbery, which served as the trigger for an entire period of train robberies. Imagine this: July 21st, a serene summer evening. Passengers, and more significantly, a safe full of money and gold, are being transported by a Rock Island train as it chugs across the Iowa plains. Jesse James, his brother Frank James, and the rest of their gang are hiding in the shadows. These were no amateurs. Opening up a section of railroad track and waiting for the train to thunder down the line was exactly how they planned it. Metal and sparks flew everywhere as the engine derailed and crashed violently. The gang rushed in between the confusion. They stole what would now be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, robbed passengers, blew open the safe, and rode away into the night. Jesse James became well known after that night. Although he was far from it, he was portrayed in newspapers as a modern Robin Hood. Even so, the Adair heist was the first successful train heist in the American West, and it served as an inspiration for countless imitators for decades to follow. The Great Northfield Raid, 1876. 3 years later, in 1876, the James Younger gang carried out, or attempted to carry out, the Great Northfield Raid in Northfield, Minnesota, one of the most daring bank robberies in American history. Frank, James, and Jesse were riding high by now. They'd robbed stagecoaches, banks, and railroads throughout the Midwest. They therefore assumed that everything would continue as usual when they made the decision to rob the First National Bank of Northfield. However, the residents of Northfield had different ideas this time. Locals became suspicious as the gang rode into town. When the cashier refused to open the vault, things quickly went south inside the bank. Townspeople armed themselves with pistols and rifles and took to the streets. There was devastation when the shooting began, with horses running away, glass breaking, and 2 gang members being shot dead. The James Younger gang barely made it out alive. After suffering severe injuries, Cole Younger was taken into custody. Frank and Jesse were the only ones who survived. The James gang's end began with the Northfield Raid, which turned into one of the largest shootouts in the Wild West. The Union Pacific Big Springs robbery, 1877. The 1877 Union Pacific Big Springs robbery will be discussed next. This one was set in Nebraska and featured Sam Bass, one of the Old West's most cunning outlaws. Bass wasn't born an outlaw like Jesse James. He began his career as a part-time horse racer and cowboy. He quickly discovered, however, that crime paid far more than driving cattle. Rumored to be carrying a fortune, Bass and his crew made the decision to hit a Union Pacific train. They discovered $60,000 in freshly struck gold coins from the San Francisco Mint when they pulled it over at Big Springs. That's more than $1 million today. The worst part is that at the time, this was the biggest train robbery ever. Sam Bass became a legend overnight due to his sheer volume. Of course, there was a cost to that fame. After being relentlessly pursued by law enforcement, Bass was shot and killed in a gunfight in Texas a year later. Nevertheless, the Big Springs robbery became a legend among outlaws. The San Miguel Valley Bank robbery, 1889. The San Miguel Valley Bank robbery in Telluride, Colorado in 1889 is a robbery with a mysterious twist. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Butch Cassidy was the one who committed the first robbery ever documented. Cassidy was a lowly rustler trying to prove himself before he rose to become the charming leader of the Wild Bunch. Wearing long dusters and brandishing pistols, Cassidy entered the San Miguel Valley Bank on June 24th with 2 friends. Before anyone could put anything together, they ordered everyone to the ground, took about $20,000 in cash and gold, and vanished into the surrounding mountains. The style, not the money, was what set this heist apart. There were no gunshots. No one was harmed. It was professional, effective, and clean. It showed that Cassidy was a strategic outlaw who valued precision over violence, not just another moody shooter. The Telluride heist marked the start of a long series of robberies that would establish Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid as the two most well-known figures in Western history. If you're enjoying these wild tales so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the untamed American frontier. Okay, let's return to the robberies. I promise you the ones that follow will be equally outrageous. The Wilcox train robbery. This one sounds like it belongs in a Hollywood film, but it actually happened. A Union Pacific train was traveling through Wilcox, Wyoming on June 2, 1899, when it was abruptly stopped in the middle of the night by masked men. After giving the engineer instructions to separate the express car, the robbers drove it a short distance down the tracks and used dynamite to blow open the door. They left devastation and confusion in their trail after stealing about $50,000 in cash, gold, and jewelry. Many people thought it was the Wild Bunch, which included Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, and their gang, even though the identities of the robbers were not confirmed at the time. Even the Pinkerton detectives were unable to instantly pinpoint the gang because they were so careful and well prepared. Because of its bold execution and the mystery surrounding its perpetrator, this heist rose to fame as one of the most well-known in the Wild West. It cemented the Wild Bunch's standing as the most accomplished bandits of their era. The Southern Pacific train robbery. The D'Altremont brothers ambushed Southern Pacific train number 13, located close to tunnel number 13 on the Siskiyou Pass in southern Oregon, in the early afternoon of October 11, 1923. The three planned a bold heist because they thought the train held tens of thousands in cash and gold. They set up explosives to blow open the mail car, pushed the engineer and fireman off, and boarded the train as it slowed. Due to their lack of dynamite experience, the blast killed the mail clerk, destroyed the mail car, and left the brothers with nothing. During the confusion, they also killed the firefighter, engineer, and brakeman. One of the biggest manhunts in American history began as a result of the failed robbery. The brothers were eventually captured in 1927 and given a life sentence. Many people consider this failed attempt to be among the final important train robberies of the Wild West era. The Bell Star Bank robbery, 1886. Belle Starr, also known as the Bandit Queen, was a notorious outlaw, is said to have led a bold heist at the Belle Starr Bank in Missouri in 1886. Belle Starr was not your average gunslinger. She was sly, social, and bold, and her group of cowboys and outlaws respected her. With their guns ready but concealed and their long coats blowing in the wind, Belle and her group rode into town on horseback on the day of the heist. According to witnesses, the heist was daring and spectacular. While her gang guarded the exits, Belle went inside first and demanded that the teller give her the money. Her command of the situation is shown by the fact that no one was killed during the tense standoff. Before police could mount a search, the gang fled into the forested countryside with several $1,000s. Belle Starr's reputation as a cunning, fearless criminal was solidified by the Belle Starr Bank heist. She became one of the most well-known female characters of the Wild West, thanks to tales of her charm, boldness, and ability to avoid capture. Black Bart stagecoach robberies, 1870s and 1880s. A mysterious outlaw known only as Black Bart gained notoriety in the rough hills of 1870s California for robbing Wells Fargo stagecoaches using style and wit rather than force. He was not your usual bandit. His name was Charles E. Bowles. Bart gained an odd kind of respect from the public because he was always polite, well-groomed, and carried a shotgun that he hardly ever fired. He targeted isolated routes in the Shasta and Sierra Nevada regions, robbing at least 28 stagecoaches between 1875 and 1883. What truly set him apart, however, was his flair for words. After a few robberies, Bart left behind short, poetic verses teasing Wells Fargo and the uselessness of greed, making him America's first poetic bandit. When authorities finally caught him in 1883 after a robbery gone wrong, they discovered a mild-mannered man living quietly in San Francisco. He disappeared shortly after being released from prison after serving 4 years. In addition to his crimes, Black Bart's story lives on because of the way he combined resistance and good manners to create one of the most bizarre legends in the Wild West. There you have it, the 8 most well-known robberies from the Wild West, a period when a common man could become a legend through bravery, greed, and a little bit of luck. These tales show the true wild nature of the frontier, from Butch Cassidy robbing banks in style to Jesse James derailing trains. Though they weren't heroes, these outlaws served as reminders of a time when the American frontier was still being tamed, one heist and one gunfight at a time. If you enjoyed this ride through history, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the legends of the Old West. And let us know in the comments which of these robberies you would most like to see firsthand, from a safe distance, of course. I appreciate you watching, partners, and until next time, keep your powder dry and your curiosity high.